Hi, Pepsi. My name is Chris Jones, and I'm the Collegiate Director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes at Colorado State University. I get to work with coaches and athletes and share the gospel with them and help them to share the gospel with others. I am married. My wife's name is Lissa Jones, and she also was a college athlete. She actually played softball at Colorado State University, so it's been a blessing to be able to go back to where she came to know Christ and get to minister to these coaches and athletes. We have 3 young children. Their names are Evelyn, Laddie, and Klein. They're all under the age of 5, so they keep us on our toes. I want to say thank you to you all for your support. It means a lot to know that you guys are behind us and helping us to move forward with what God has called us to. Our vision is to transform the world by Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes at CSU. Ultimately, our goal is to make disciples who make disciples who make disciples. The 2 Timothy 2:1-2 essentially talks about that, to entrust what I have taught you to trustful men. And so that's really what our goal is discipleship. Through that, we hope that the world is transformed. We do this through engaging, equipping, and empowering coaches and athletes. When we say engaging, that's really the beginning of the relationship with us, but ultimately the beginning of the relationship with Jesus. Whether they know him or they've just started to get to know him, this is a crucial part of our ministry to get them moving toward their relationship and moving on their journey with Christ. Equipping is really us giving them the tools and the knowledge to grow deeper in their relationship with Christ. And then hopefully what that will do is help them to do the same with others. And then empowering, that's kind of our final phase. And that's really helping these coaches and athletes to go out and make disciples. During this part, it's almost like sending your kid off to college and go change the world, right? And so that's what we do, and we're there to help them and to encourage them as they go. And then sometimes they come back and they need more equipping as they get empowered to do those things. So it's really fun to watch that full circle of discipleship begin to happen. One of the best parts of my job is getting to work with the coaches, though. I love working with coaches. They are a very underserved population in our culture. We see them and we put a ton of pressure on them, but there's really not very many people who are there to serve them. They can make a huge impact on our world. Billy Graham once said that a coach will impact more people in 1 year than most people do in a lifetime. And so really their influence can really change the world. We've seen that in multiple places. You look at a guy like Tim Tebow, he was impacted by coaches. And obviously he changed the world in many different ways. And that's happened throughout time. And a lot of these athletes and coaches also go on and they're not always athletes. They go out and they impact somewhere else. They become pastors. They become businessmen. They become doctors. And they can impact in those ways too. So as we first minister to these coaches, though, we want to minister to their hearts. We don't want to just use their influence. Once we minister to their hearts, we want to give them the opportunity then to go out and impact the world for Christ through the incredible influence that they have. I'd love to give you just a little bit of a ministry update now. As you all know, things look a little different this year than most. CSU has been almost completely shut down, which has had its difficulties, but with building relationships, because contacting people in person is probably the best way to build a relationship. We've been able to do Zoom and online and emails and phone calls, but nothing feels quite the same as meeting in person. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. But even through those challenges, God is not stifled, right? God can work through those challenges. He knows how to help us do that. He works through that. So even with these shutdowns, God's been faithful to build new relationships through various contexts, and we have been able to meet in small groups with athletes and coaches now as things have gotten to go a little bit more in the school year. A short story of how God has been faithful in that is about 2 months ago, I was getting frustrated because I couldn't meet any new coaches or athletes due to shutdowns, and nobody was meeting in person. So I prayed and I said, God, if this is going to happen, you have to do it. Within that week, God answered my prayer. I randomly received an email from another person that is on staff with FCA North Carolina. I have never met this person before, didn't even know they existed. And he emailed me saying that he had recently begun doing some discipleship with his cousin, who was an assistant basketball coach at CSU. He found my name one day because he thought randomly popped into his head that he should connect his cousin with somebody who's at CSU, see if there's something happening there, somebody who's in ministry. And so he looked me up, found me, emailed me, and said, "Hey, my cousin, I've been doing Bible study with him, doing some discipleship. Would you be interested in talking with him and getting to know him?" And so he set us up through an email, and thankfully I've been able to contact and not meet with this coach in person yet, but contact through email this coach and begin the relationship. And it's just awesome to see how God is faithful even when I felt helpless in that moment. There's a few ways that, obviously prayer is a huge thing. So there's a few ways I'd love to ask you all to pray with us. The main things that I would like for prayer are opportunities to meet new coaches and athletes. Like I said, prayer was the main way that happened, right? That God would lead and guide us as we begin our small groups and Bible studies. That God would protect us as we minister. If as we minister in person, if things happen health-wise, it can slow us down. So that God would protect us in that way. That athletes and coaches would place their identities in Christ and not their sport. A unique thing about this in sports being canceled or paused or postponed is athletes are having to deal with their identity issues before they graduate, which gives us a huge opportunity to step into that. So pray that they wouldn't place their identities in their sport, but those that have, that God would help us to step in and show them their identity should be in Christ. And also be praying for my family and I as we continue to do ministry, pray that God would provide for us and that He'll provide for the ministry that He's called us to. Love you all. Thank you for your time and your devotion. And I know you guys are praying for me, and I can feel your prayers.